Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Dean Callan Show. Today, we're going to be learning how to chop up one of those homemade ice blocks. Obviously, safety will be a factor. All right. So, I'm going to take this outside because it makes a lot of mess. First thing that you're going to need to do is take the ice out of the freezer and let it sit for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Basically what you want is you want the ice to kind of be melty on the outside so that you can see straight through it. If it's still cloudy, it means that it hasn't tempered properly and it's going to be brittle, it's going to break. So once you feel like it's kind of tempered, you can take it out. What I like to do is I like to just chip off this dirty ice. Might not be the best thing for your knife, but it's a pretty good knife. I've been doing this for a few years now, and it doesn't seem to have a problem. I'm always doing it away from myself. To this side. Now, once I've taken the bulk of that dirty ice off, you can see just looking at it, it's got all the impurities in it. It's kind of gross. So once I've got the bulk of it off, I'll just put this one out into the garden, water the grass. And then this guy, when I first started doing this, I used to shave this like so until I'd gotten all of those little air bubbles out. But I realized that shaving it when it's really big is slightly harder and more dangerous. Unless you want to keep that piece of ice for some reason, I find it's a bit safer and a bit easier to shape the top end, make sure that's all the right size. You can get a towel if you like, so it doesn't slip so much. So we're going to live life on the edge a little bit today. And I like to just kind of start by mapping out where I'm going to make my first cut. Now, if it's tempered properly, you can pretty much just push down with a really sharp knife and it'll cut through. But it's safer, as you can see, to map out your line and get a little mallet and tap it. You're basically trying to both cut it and get it to crack through. Like that. And then what I'll do is I'll clean up any tiny edges, make it as square as I can. And in here, map out the next guy, give him a couple of little taps. The next guy, and then these guys go back into my freezer. Here, with this, obviously you've seen the shape of my ice bucket has affected that. So I'm going to cut him down and use him just in tall drinks. My smaller glasses. You can see the little ice there. Cut that off. As you can see, it's much easier to remove that last little piece when they're smaller. But for now, so one more time. you've got your block of ice. And as you can see, when it's tempered, you can just shave it. It's really nice and easy to work with. And at this stage, I can choose my line, go back and forth. Obviously, I've got a nice sharp knife. I put pressure on the top, keeping my fingers really far away from where the blade will go, and just give it a moment, and eventually it'll crack through, and you've got a perfectly cut piece of ice with no wastage. It's kind of important to think, you know, it takes you time to make this ice. But if you're using a saw to cut through there, you know, you're not going to get such a perfect split. Keep going with those and break them down even smaller, but this is the size that I need for my purposes, because I'm going to put those back in the freezer, and then I'm going to cut them down to exactly the right size that I need later on. Also, if I wanted to, I can brand them now. Get this little guy, right? You get the branding iron, you sit him on top, let it melt in a little bit. When it gets to there, I like to do this. Kind of make it look kind of like a podium. And then when you take it away, I turn it up first, just to make sure that no water falls back in before I put it back in the freezer. Cool. And we're done. Cool.